second part, sorry. So in this particular case, I had forgotten to bring socks so that I could test the socks, wearing the boots with the socks, so that I could know whether or not I truly wanted to purchase these boots. So what I'm getting at is, when you're prepared, when you're paying attention, when you're observant, then you're flowing in this like beautiful flow that like just things line up for you. You're in alignment. But I had forgotten the socks, okay? I wasn't prepared. And then I made an impulsive purchase on a pair of boots because I didn't have the socks with me. And like I said, until I try the boots on with the socks, I don't even know whether or not I want to keep the boots. So what I'm getting at is, the Lord is going to test us. He's going to ask us to go through different trials and tribulations to see where our heart is. So the question is, where is your heart in this type of situation as well? Good morning. Is your heart aligned with what God wants for you? Are you acting out of, good morning, are you acting out of integrity in all areas of your life, or maybe just a certain area and other areas not? The point is, God is going to constantly test us on this idea of, are we keeping his 10 commandments? Are we honoring him? And are we doing our best to pay attention to what God wants for us to be under his blessings? And the other item is, I started to think about credit cards, and that as an act of theft and stealing. And I had not thought about that before. I don't know why, but like I said, sometimes when you read a passage or you read an excerpt of the Bible or the Torah, something gets, downloaded to you, and you have a different idea of something when it is expressed to you with new eyes or a new, fresh vision of something. And so when we gain a new perspective, sometimes it changes the way that we think about things. So I started to think about that, like credit cards. Wow. Like, I looked at it as this credit card was available for me as a quote crutch or as a safety net. That's how I was looking at it. Due to last year, I had a flood in my van. My father had a flood in his home, and I had a flood in my apartment. So I had three different floods that I was exposed to, and my personal belongings were affected at all of those locations. And as a result, it was like I became homeless. I didn't have an extra place to live, and I thank goodness for renter's insurance. And I was living in hotels for 5 months as I worked on rebuilding my camper van from the water damage from a water leak, and literally ripping out all the wood, starting all over again with the floors, etc., everything that was affected by that water leak. My apartment was completely gutted and renovated, and new walls were installed, and all the appliances and everything was taken out. Certain items had to be replaced. Other items were, saved or rescued from the flood. But the bottom line is, everything had to go through mold, treatment and everything else. So what I'm getting at is, it was an ordeal. And then I was helping my dad with his home that had flooded. So I was in and out of there, gathering his belongings, my belongings, being exposed to the mold that was there. So what I'm getting at, while he was in hospice. So I'm trying to express that sometimes when you have all of these, I'm going to again say competing contingencies, that all these different struggles and challenges are hitting you all at once, in that moment, thank God I had a credit card, meaning I had an available $10,000 credit card at my disposal, so that when I became I lost most of my clothes from the flood because it was sewer water and, in the apartment. And so therefore, because the sump pump or whatever broke. So what I'm getting at is, all my clothes were ruined. So I'm going to graduate school for my master's, visiting my dad in hospice, writing papers, living in 5 different hotels as my van was being remodeled. And, and I'm wearing like a couple clothes that I bought at the Gap or something just to like get by. I bought like a pair of overalls, a pair of jeans, a sweater, a couple t-shirts, and like some kind of jacket or something. And what I'm saying is I wore those same clothes the entire time that I was going through this period. I wasn't like, hey, I've got to go buy a whole new wardrobe at this moment. No, I didn't do that. I just bought what I needed to get by in that short-term period. And over time, I replaced my wardrobe, meaning I went to the Goodwill, I went to a secondhand thrift store, I bought something online that was on sale at Kohl's or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I didn't go out and immediately buy everything all over again. That's not how it happened for me. It was a gradual, very slow, methodical process. But what I'm getting at is that I incurred credit card debt from the things I had to do with rebuilding the van and putting in the new flooring, etc. Wood is expensive, and all of those things then were sitting on that credit card. They were sitting there like I was paying every month, not the minimum, way more than the minimum. But the point is I was carrying a balance. Whereas before that incident of having several floods, of losing all my clothes, of not having another second place to live and living in a hotel, which meant that, all of my things were packed up in storage and in boxes. So I had no access to any of my camping equipment while my van was being rebuilt because all of those things were packed. I had no access to my normal cooking utensils or, spice jars or any of those things because my entire kitchen was packed up and I'm living in a hotel kitchen and I'm, at the bare minimum. So when I went to the grocery store, what did I buy? I bought cinnamon, garlic, cayenne pepper. You get what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have like 30 different spices that I normally like to cook with, but I had 3. So what I'm saying is sometimes God puts you through a season to test you. Are you strong enough? Are you resilient enough? Are you going to be able to stay the course and keep your mind focused on the most important things during that period, irregardless of what's going on in your environment and your circumstances around you? And in this case, somehow, through the grace of God, through His strength and power within me, and I give all the glory to Him, I was able last year to get through a very difficult time of watching my father die in the hospital and then in hospice, and being there for him. I was able to complete my full load of classes for my first semester as getting my master's at Regent, and I got a 4.0. I have solid A's in my classes, and that's despite the fact that I was living in 5 different hotels. I had like literally a handful of clothing to keep re-wearing over and over again because all my other clothes were lost. I didn't have access to my normal kitchen equipment or any of that, so I wasn't eating creatively. I spent more money eating out during that period because I was so focused on my schoolwork. But what I'm getting at is that there's always a time and a season for what God is putting us through, and He's going to give us the resources that we need. And sometimes those resources are minimal. And if there's something I've learned from van life, tiny living, camping life, it's that the things that we think that we need are usually, when we can break down the steps to be really, really simple, and come from a place of simplicity, I'm so much more efficient when it's about efficiency and simplicity. But when we complicate it and we're like, oh, I need this thing for that and this thing for that. No, like if the more that you can keep it simple. I mean, literally in my van, I have one Stanley, like vertical, little cooking pot that is so travel friendly. It fits in a backpack, you know, it is very lightweight. It's stainless steel. And I use it on my, you know, what is it called? New Wave cooktop, the heat inverter, whatever it's called. And I can use it on a campfire. I can use it, you know, on propane stove, whatever. I'm just saying, like, that little Stanley, you know, camping pot that's very small and minimalistic, it can heat up my food. It can heat up, you know, water. It's so efficient, okay? And sometimes I think about all the pots and pans that I had in my, you know, my apartment kitchen, and it's like I have this one for this and this one for that. But when I'm cooking for just me, okay, just me in the camper van, that little Stanley pot is so convenient. It's portable, it's minimalist, it's simple, and it works. Consistently, it works, okay? And so what I am encouraging you is to evaluate, like, where are you robbing yourself of your time? Because, like, again, when I started to think about, you know, the idea of God hates a robber or God hates a thief, he doesn't just hate people that are stealing, like, on purpose to manipulate, deceive, and control other people or corporations, etc. Like, that's one part of it. But the other part of it is that God is also trying to tell us to level up and tell us to be like, hey, like, you know, you're robbing yourself of your time on this earth because you're not paying attention. You know, you're robbing yourself of your life because you're concerned with these worldly things that really don't matter. And if you focus your mind on what is simple and efficient, then you can let go of some of these other things that just really no longer serve you. So what I'm getting at is the word robber or thief, we can marinate on that and let God unlock in our head what it means to us and how we can improve. And, you know, are we robbing other people's time? Like, I had an appointment to meet my friend yesterday at 4, and at 3:45 I realized that I was in the middle of a project and it was going to take me at least 20 minutes to pack up all of my things. So I didn't wait until 4 o'clock to call her or time debt. I called her immediately when I realized I needed more time. And I was like, hey, I know we talked about getting together at 4. I'm going to need another 20 minutes in order to pack up my van and get it ready to pick you up. Is that okay? So can we say 4:30 instead of 4? And she was totally fine with it. But the point is, I didn't just show up at 4:30. That's called being rude. That's called not having integrity. It's about staying in communication. I'm not robbing my friend's time. I'm staying in communication and I'm saying, hey, we had an agreement. I'm admitting that my fault right now is that I missed the mark and I'm delayed and I'm taking ownership for that. And I'm encouraging you to allow me to be human. And is a half an hour later okay? Now, if she would have said, no, it's not okay, then I could have adjusted my time and my schedule again. But what I'm getting at is we need to be more conscious. We need to pay attention. I think, you know, the first video and the second video illustrate this, that, you know, the times are real. You know, Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah, he's coming. He's going to be judging us. And how are we going to fare? How are we doing? Like, what's our report card going to show? Are we going to get an A or are we going to get an F? And so my encouragement to you is reach for the A, you know? And that means that we need to make amends. We need to change our behavior. And we need to read our Bible. Okay, I'm going to leave you there with that. Have a good one, everybody. Cheers.